Life Management Science Labs would like to acknowledge that we live and produce this podcast on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people. We'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands of our listeners and our international colleagues. We'd like to pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. Hi, and welcome to Self-Improvement Atlas, the Personal Science Insights podcast produced by LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. We are champions of life management science, providing structured insights informed by science and inspired by practice on key aspects of conscious living. Each week, we bring you scientific and practical insights on each element with the expert knowledge of professionals in the field. I'm Marie Stella, your host from Melbourne, Australia. Let's start the show. Welcome back to Self-Improvement Atlas, the Personal Science Insights podcast. When the world is plastered with unrealistic standards and distorted ideals of beauty, it's far too easy to lose sight of what truly matters, embracing authenticity. So in this week's episode, we are speaking to dietitian and wellness coach Kathy Ožaković to break down body ideals, learn more about what it takes to cultivate a positive body image mindset, and so much more. Hi, Kathy. It's lovely having you on the show. How are you going today?
Hi, Marie. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited for this topic.
Yeah, me too. So before we begin, I'm really curious to know, in your line of work, what is the most common problem that your clients come to you with?
So being a dietitian and a wellness coach, most people do come to me for dietetic advice. So really seeking guidance on nutrition and health and understanding where nutrition fits into their life and lifestyle.
And that's an excellent preface for our topic for today, because we all have to keep in mind how it fits into our lifestyle as well. But before we go further into detail, I'd love to get to know you better. This is Have You Met Kathy? And the first question I want to ask is, what do you like to do in your spare time?
My time is very intentional. So if I am not working on myself or the business, like I'll be reading books, gym, walking by the seaside, and spending time with family is very intentional as well. So I will actually block out time to spend with the people that I want to spend time with. If I'm not doing any of that, I'll be journaling. But basically, most people see me in my office through the window just journaling and writing. And if I'm not in my office journaling and writing and studying something and searching for more knowledge, I'm outside in nature.
Oh, so tell us a bit about your journaling journey and how you got started in that, what kind of prompts you like to use.
I love that question. I have been writing since I was maybe 5 or 6 years old when my mum bought me my first diary. And you know, when we're little and you've got the little diary with the little lock, I don't know if kids do this nowadays, but back then, 20 something years ago, that was a really big deal for me, starting my own diary where I could write anything that nobody would read. And it was a little lock and key that I could take care of. So it was my thoughts. And I moved countries twice and I kept journaling. So with each move, I just kept writing, kept journaling my thoughts. And at school, so I went to school overseas, it was a practice that we would write a lot of essays as well. So the teacher would actually give us a topic just out of the blue. No one would know anything about it. Maybe we would have read a book about it. But very often it would just be a topic that the teacher would come up with because she wanted to see our thoughts. And that's also from year 5 onwards, I was always writing essays. So this writing practice has been following me throughout my basically whole lifetime. Nowadays, I like to use sometimes astrology, some things that I find on Instagram that I subscribe to for those journal props, or I'll go to a bookstore and I'll look intentionally again. If I've used something already, I'll go and seek what's the next thing I want to work on? Where do I want to improve in my life? And what are those questions that I need to answer to help me move forward?
Yeah, journaling is such a great way to externalize our very abstract
thoughts. And I definitely had the same experience of having that lock and key diary when I was a child, and having the pink glitter or purple glitter diary. I had maybe like 2 or 3, and I can't say that I can't confidently say that I ever really filled it up all the way, but it was such a ritual as a teenage girl to be able to write them down somewhere when you are unsure of where else your thoughts will be received. So when I was younger, I did like a pretty free flow style of journaling where I just constantly be writing things just come to my mind. But as adults, we do practice journaling a bit more intentionally. So could you take me through some of your journaling practice right now?
Currently, what am I currently journaling on? There are so many things. So I love to listen to audibles. So when I listen to audibles, so my learning style is I learn better when I listen. And I discovered this throughout uni. Once I started watching my lectures online rather than being in the theatre, I realized how much more I actually retain. So audibles, I listen to them, but simultaneously I will take notes in my phone, in the notes, and then later I will return to those notes and I will actually write them out, pen and paper, in my journals. I've been told before that I'm very good at taking notes. They're very succinct and they're very just the main things. I don't overdo it. I like to do dot points and keywords. So this is very often how I will make notes on my audibles and what I'm learning and the things that I want to action, the things that I want to try doing, implementing in my life, and that are going to make a difference for how I show up for myself and for others. And over the last, I would say, 2.5 years, the journaling has been even more intense, where I have had an empowerment coach with whom I did fortnightly sessions one-on-one and weekly group sessions in a women's group. So there was a lot of intentional, purposeful journaling about my purpose, what I want to achieve in life, who my better self is, my vision for myself, how I'm moving towards her, what are the changes I need to make, what are the things I need to let go of to make space for that new person that I'm creating. And also the types of people that I want to hang out with, the types of people that I want to welcome into my life. So a lot of change and development and growth, kind of personal questions. And I'll have different journals for different purposes. I'll have a journal for business. I'll have a journal for relationships. I'll have a journal for personal growth. And I will take journal prompts from different areas as well. Like I said before, I like to dabble into a little bit of astrology. Spirit Daughter on Instagram has some journal prompts when the new moon comes around, full moon. And again, no matter what you believe in, it's the journal prompts and the questions that are helping you self-develop and ultimately get to know yourself. And that's one of the things that I live by is know thyself. The more you can get to know yourself, the more you can move forward and become who you want to become.
Mm-hmm. And does that help you with the slew of clients that you see? Does that help you to solidify your sense of identity as well?
Of course, it does. I know who I am and I know who I'm showing up as in the world. Not only does it help me with my clients, it helps me with interactions every day with people as well. And I would say naturally that I'm quite an introvert, but I push myself to be an extrovert and I push myself to actually adapt to the situation. But in actual fact, I recharge when I'm in private and when I'm doing those things by myself. And I'm still good at networking. Like, this is some of the things that I've been complimented on. And it wasn't until I reflected on it that I was like, I guess there's some truth in that as well. But in knowing myself and again, being authentically me, who I am, it also attracts the people that I want to work with, right? So there are certain people that I want to work with and they fit a certain mindset. They're going through certain challenges that I've been through perhaps, and they see something in me that they want. They see that I can guide them towards who they want to become. And there is so much excitement in meeting a person where they are today and guiding them towards becoming their best self and who they want to be and seeing them make those changes. So I also lead by example, and I need to lead myself first. I need to be my own leader. I need
Mhm.
to hold the line. I need to live up to my own standards and in that way be an example.
Yeah, that is so true. Thank you so much for sharing some of that with us. And with regards to books, what are some of your favorite genres that you tend to lean into?
Oh, I love a lot of self-help books. And when it comes to self-help, again, it's different types of topics. I guess not all of them actually come under self-help. Like I read a lot of spirituality, I read a lot of business, I read a lot of personal development, growth mindset. And then there's the odd kind of a story as well in there. Again, the stories that I read are very purposeful. They have messages. Like one of my favorite books is The Alchemist. I've just recently reread it. It's one of the ones that I'll always come back to because it is short, but there are so many life lessons in that. And each time you reread it, something else will stick out to you. And all of the books that I've read have somehow come as recommendations somewhere from someone that I've looked up to, which is also another great way that I get to these books. Um, Mostly listening on Audible, but I have a practice where I will purchase my favorite books. So most people purchase books and leave them on the shelf and never get to them. I listen to the book first on Audible, and if it's one of my favorites, I will purchase the hard copy and then put it on my shelf so that I can return to it. Because there's something, again, about turning pages that is so satisfying to me. And I really hope that, that collection of books that I have one day in my new home one day with my one day partner, my kids, I'll read when I'm pregnant, I'll read it to my kids. I'll have my kids read those favorite books because there are valuable lessons in that.
For sure. And the way that you approach it is very much like trying on a piece of clothing, for example, and realizing that you like it a lot and then purchasing it. And it also is very intentional the way you approach that as well. Because I do notice that in the past, when I have purchased books, it's always been like, I am attracted to this cover and this snippet of what the book is about at the back. And then I don't actually get to it because I'm not, well, I wouldn't say not genuinely, but I haven't gotten the chance to try it on. Whereas I have gotten the chance to try it on through an audiobook, and I decided that I love it and that I want a hard copy in my physical space.
Mm-hmm.
That takes up my physical space. So yeah, that's a really good way of approaching it. So I've learned from that. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I feel like it was a great conversation to have, and it some of the stuff that we discussed as well does tie in a little bit with embracing authenticity, with the journaling. So I'm really keen to get started on this. And the first question I have to begin is, how would you define personal development?
Personal development or self-development, to me, it means growth. It means developing yourself. It means growing into who you want to become. It means unpacking what's holding you back from becoming that person. So it's having an honest look at where you are today and really taking responsibility for where you are today and accepting yourself for where you are today. And one of the most important things with that is seeing it as it is and not worse, so that you can
Mhm.
also look forward, create that vision. So that's where the growth and the development's going to happen towards what is it that you are growing into or developing into. It's very personal. Your vision and who you want to become and what you want out of your life, it is very personal. That's why it's called personal development and self-development, because it's all about self. like I said before, know thyself.
Yeah, 100%. And how would you define body image? How do you think it contributes to our personal development?
Body image is such a massive topic, and I would define it as the way you see yourself. So this is not necessarily the way you see yourself literally as much as it is the way you perceive yourself mentally, your mindset about yourself. So it goes beyond what you see in the mirror, body image. And it's definitely related in terms of the topic of self-development on so many different levels again. So we can break it down literally, body image of physical aspects of how you are developing your body physically, because we know that we need a healthy, able body. We need those capabilities. We need to be healthy in order to pursue the personal development. Because if you don't have the energy, if you don't have the stamina, if you don't have the willpower, how are you meant to actually do the things you want to do in life and actually develop yourself and grow into that person? So we need to do enough to keep our body healthy, especially in today's day and era where we are exposed to more and more toxins every day. And again, it's not just physical. So this is where, again, body image and personal development intertwines with what's happening mentally. What are we understanding? What are we perceiving? What are we feeding our mind? And how are we looking at our body image there as well? And how much is it holding us back? Are we obsessing about the wrong things now? What are we focusing on? Because if we focus so much on our body image, on whatever level, it's going to keep us stuck in the mindset. And then we are not progressing towards that personal development and becoming the person that you want to become again. So it definitely intertwines, and it's so important. And again, there's so many layers to it and different branches that we look at.
Yeah. And what does it mean to embrace authenticity? What does it do for our body image?
Yeah. Authenticity is all about being yourself. It's all about being your authentic self. But then again, this all comes back to know thyself. Who are you? Who are you at your core? Being authentic, being able to present yourself as your authentic self, you need to know what your values are. You need to know what you stand for, what you want to achieve in life. What are you going towards? Again, comes back to journaling. It comes back to meditation. It comes back to the practice of you sitting with yourself to getting to know yourself. Comes back to learning how to think, not just what to think. And these are things that we don't get taught at school. Like, I was fortunate enough to go to a school where writing essays and being provoked was thought-provoking topics. That was fortunate for me. And we need more of that in our life. Not everybody goes down the path of actually utilizing that. And I don't think we understand how important it is, because you get to a certain point in life and now what's your purpose? Why are you here? What do you want to do, right? But to know your purpose and to know what's important to you and your passion, you need to know your values. You need to know who you are. That's where the authenticity is. Because what's important to you, Marie, is not going to be the same as what's important to me. Your reason for taking care of yourself, your reason for getting up in the morning, taking care of yourself, showing up, doing the things that you do on a daily basis are going to be different to my reasons.
Yeah, that is so true, that everyone has different values and their own purposes, their own reasons for getting up every day. What role do you think self-compassion and self-awareness play in embracing that authenticity?
So self-compassion and self-awareness. Let's start with self-awareness first, because self-awareness comes back to know thyself, because tracking builds awareness. Like, again, I have all these little catchphrases that help me with how I live my life, right? And you'll catch on to as I talk about them. Tracking builds awareness. So when we track things, We become more aware of what we're doing when we track our food intake, when we track our exercise habits, when we track with our journaling. We become more aware of our habits, our behaviors, our thought patterns, what's helping us and what's not helping us so much, what we want to let go of, what's keeping us stuck. So self-awareness is really important when it comes to embracing authenticity and our body image as well, because it's going to be the first clue. Everything starts with awareness. If we don't know what we're doing, how are we meant to change it if it's not good for us? This is why, with my clients, we start off with dietetics, we go into wellness coaching, because again, it's building that awareness. It's understanding that nutrition goes beyond the plate. It's understanding that a dietetic issue is most likely just a surface problem. We're talking about the relationship with food here. It's probably not about the relationship with food. It's probably about a relationship with someone else in your family. So it's unpacking those layers, and that only happens through that self-awareness. Where are the triggers? What are we getting triggered by? What are we getting moved by? Where does the thought start? Same, pull it back to body image and self-compassion now. You had a thought. You are not your thoughts. And this is where it's really important to differentiate when you're journaling and when you're reflecting and when you're building self-awareness. Those thoughts are just thoughts. Everybody has thoughts. I don't know the exact statistic, but you can look it up on Google how many thoughts a day we have. And it is up to you as the consciousness, as the being that is actually sifting through those thoughts to choose which ones are you, which ones align with your values. This is where self-compassion comes in, and you notice, hey, there's a thought that's actually weighing me down. Come back to the analogy of trying on clothes that you used earlier. You can try on a thought, and you can ask yourself, does it fit? Is this me? And you can, if it doesn't fit, you put it back on the clothesline, you put it back in the shop where it came from, you let it go. You take it to Vinnie's, you can have these thoughts that you've been carrying around. Yeah, this is the thing, right? When we declutter our house, great analogies. I'm loving where this is going with the analogies. Even our kitchen, right? How many Tupperware do we actually accumulate in our kitchen? Now think of those thoughts as Tupperware. There comes a day where we want to spring clean. Am I going to keep this Tupperware or am I going to take it to Vinnie's? Am I going to keep this thought or am I going to actually let it go? It may have been something that was serving you for a time. It was this was serving me. This was self-preservation. This was helping me, but I've outgrown it now. I want new things. So having self-compassion, even in just that process of letting go, because you get so used to habits. What are habits? Habits are patterns of behavior. And what are patterns of behavior? They're just thoughts. They're just patterns of thought. Every thought is going to lead to a behavior. So it's also, you get so used to it, it just becomes a thing that you do and that you know yourself as. And now you want to grow into a new version of yourself. We're going to have to let that first version go. And you don't have to get rid of everything. Maybe there's something that you really like about the previous version of yourself. We're going to keep that. We're just going to grow onto it, develop, add, subtract, evolve. So important.
Yeah. And how frequently do you think this evolving happens for people? Because I know in my personal experience that I'm evolving almost all the time. The person that I am a year ago isn't the person that I am now. And I can confidently say that for the previous years, for the past 5 years, that's consistently been happening. So this is something that people shouldn't be afraid of.
Yes, however, we are very afraid because we develop a comfort zone, and that is props to you for growing and noticing that you are not the same person as you were a year ago. You are not the same person as you were yesterday. Even if there was nothing intentional about it, you are always growing and changing and getting older. So when it comes to personal development, when it comes to self-awareness, when it comes to authenticity, the ways to do those things is very intentionally growing into the person that you want to become. It is very intentional, it is very purposeful. There needs to be a level of understanding that change is inevitable. The only certain thing in life is change. It's always happening. Now, is that change going to be intentional or purposeful? Are you actually doing it on purpose and choosing it? Or is that change just happening to you? So you can either let that change happen to you and you don't even notice it. And this is where we get stuck in those patterns and we get stuck in a mindset and we get stuck in a rut doing the same thing over and over again without any growth. And there's a difference here as well. Now that I've said that, I just want to use an example. When I was speaking to my niece the other day, and she said, you're always in your office working and writing, and I always see you doing the same thing every day. And it was interesting. I smiled because, yes, I am very routined. I am very structured. I love my habits and I do the same things every day. However, I told her, when I go to the gym, even though I'm going to the gym every day doing the same thing and you follow a program and it's generally the same exercises, I'm still pushing to go a little bit heavier. I'm still pushing to do a little bit better every day I show up. So you might see me doing the same thing over and over again, but I'm still pushing and stretching myself to grow, right? So it's being really honest with yourself. Did I hit a wall? Being honest with yourself. Did I stop here? And what's getting in the way? And I think having a really solid sounding board is very important with this. So your coaches, your friends, your family, who are you surrounding yourself with? Who are you talking to? They are your sounding boards. They are the ones that are going to pick up. If you're in an environment of growth mindset, people that are developing and growing, they're going to start to pick up when you're stagnant. They're going to start to pick up when you're stuck. They're going to start to nudge you, hey, what are you working on? What are you doing? Is there anything that I can help you with? Or did you think about reaching out to this? Or maybe try read this book, right? They're going to try and help you grow if you're in that environment. But if you're in an environment where you have stagnant people that don't develop, people that are not going beyond the bare minimum, well, there's that analogy. If you hang out with 4 smokers, you're going to be the 5th smoker. Same with growth mindset people. It's the same thing. This is why it's so important to look at your environment, who you surround yourself with. And I think part of that change and development, one of the hardest things is going to be honest and actually change your environment, because we get attached. And attachment, again, is the root cause of suffering. It's not the pain, it's the attachment to the pain. So when we get attached to something, it's coming back to, is this helping me grow? Is this keeping me stagnant? How can I make this help me grow? And if I can't make this help me grow, if I can't turn it into an asset, it's become a liability. How do I remove myself? How do I create those boundaries? How do I, again, come back to what I want? My North Star, my purpose.
And on that note, I just want to quickly touch on this perceived regression that some people have sometimes, with going through major life events and feeling like you've regressed from whatever progress that you've made. What are your thoughts on this?
Setbacks are part of the process. We're all going to have setbacks. We're all going to have those hard times. The life just happens. Sometimes it's, things happen out of our control. Someone passes away. We move states. We get a bad mark at school. I don't know. Like, setbacks are part of the process. Failing is part of the process. Failure is, it's literally part of success. If you've never failed at something, I fail every day at the gym. My grip gives up. I can't lift the weights that I wanted to lift. I purposely put myself in positions and such situations. Like, just start with I love the gym as an analogy for everything. It's one of my big passions as well, because you can go to the gym and you can fail your reps and you take that experience into your everyday life so that you do not fear failure, so that you understand, I can't do it yet. So I can't pick up those weights yet. There is more growth and development for me to do. There is more repetition for me to do. Repetition is the mother of mastery. Repetition is the mother of skill. The more you do something, the more you show up, the better you get at it, the stronger you become, the more you're working out that muscle, be it really at the gym or be it the muscle of your brain, and actually choosing out those thought patterns, for example. Repeating the journaling, noticing, being self-aware, catching yourself in those thoughts, and you're like, hey, this thought is actually an ugly thought. I don't want to have this thought anymore. Okay, let's change it. Notice the pattern, intercept the pattern, change the pattern, right? And do this over and over again. This is mastery. And you're going to regress. You're going to have a setback. You're going to fall off course. Like, I don't like these terms because there's no such thing as falling off course. It is part of the process. So I come from a background of having had an eating disorder, and I was very blessed because it's helped me find my passion in life. And I come from a background of not being comfortable in my own skin and having body image issues and having these complexities. It was all a thought pattern. And the more I caught myself in those thoughts and that pattern, and the more I changed it, I created a vision board behind my bed. How old was I? Like 18, 19 years old. I had just a massive wall of all the images of the person that I wanted to look like, of who I wanted to be, with all these mindset things and quotes. Still today, I have sticky notes handwritten out of the things that are important to me, also helping my mindset. But I look back, and over those 10 years from when I had that vision board behind my bed to today, I'm like, I made all that happen. And not only did I make all of that happen, I've grown past this person. I've grown beyond who I thought I wanted to be because I got to know who I am in the process. I got to embrace my authenticity. I got to trial and error and correct. But ultimately, I didn't give up. The person that I am today, I'm very proud of the person that I've become today, and I'm still growing and I'm still developing. And I get stuck sometimes. I hit a wall and I reach out to people.
And so, from both your experience and from what you've seen in your line of work, what are some of the biggest challenges when attempting to embrace this authenticity and cultivate that positive body image?
I think this comes back to knowing your values. So the works of Brené Brown, for example, embracing vulnerability is very important when embracing authenticity. Being brave, being courageous, understanding that, not everybody's going to like you, but ultimately know thyself. I think that these are things that I guess I stumbled across in the journey along the way. We don't get taught these things. I don't think that in our education system or anywhere along the way in PE, physical education, we're not being taught how to think. We're not being taught health and wellness holistically. They're just touching on things. I think there's a lot of potential for change and growth in order to help youth actually grow into their authentic self and their best self and understand the role of a positive body image and self-awareness and self-compassion along the way. All these words that I'm using today, 10 years ago, I didn't know anything about them. It was through the journey.
Yeah, and it's so important to educate the youth as well, because if we take a look at the issues that we have, that a lot of people have with body image, a lot of them stem from being an impressionable teenager and not knowing any better. So I feel like that's evidence that it's all the more important to educate the youth on these thought processes and holistic health and wellness. So are there any exercise specifically that you'd recommend for embracing authenticity? Any journaling prompts that you'd recommend to get started in this area?
I would definitely recommend looking into the works of Brené Brown. Or Daring Greatly and values. She does speak about values a lot, and she does have a worksheet on values, but you can go onto Google and download worksheets on values as well, and just get to know yourself, know thyself, come back to that, get to know your values, what is important to you. A really big tip on getting to know your values and what's important to you is have a look at what you surround yourself with. Have a look at what are the props, what are the things, the belongings that you keep that you assign value to, that you're having a hard time letting go of, and really asking yourself, is this who I was, or is this who I am? Is this who I want to be in the future? And that will kind of also help you declutter those things, and perhaps you've moved on from some values, or they've just transcended or turned into something different now. Priorities shift and change. Know what is important to you now in this season of your life. So the first thing in embracing authenticity is to get to know yourself, get to know your values, get to know who you want to become, where are you moving, so your purpose and your passion in life. And I was really lucky with using my struggle as my strength. And I completely want to acknowledge that not everybody has that kind of a journey, and it takes time. And, like I said, what is my purpose in this season of life? There was a season of my life where my purpose was to just go to uni and study uni and get through the material. That was my purpose. And my purpose during that time was also, I made it a thing to get strong at the gym at the same time. I want to maintain my fitness and I want to graduate. That was my purpose at that time. All right. And once that was finished, it's like, what's next? And a really good tip is to start thinking about what's next before you've actually finished that season of life, because you want to kind of have a vision of what are you moving towards, because this life is a journey. If you think of it as a car ride, you're moving forward. You've got the big windshield that you're looking through. Where are you headed? And a really good tip that my dad said when I started driving was, the people that make the most accidents are the people that don't know where they're going. I think that is a great analogy. The people that make the most accidents are the people that don't know where they're going. So if you don't know where you're going in life, if you don't know what your purpose is, what your passion is, if you don't have some sort of a goal you're working towards, it can be materialistic. It can be something material that you want to attain, an asset, and it can be something deeper than that. And you will discover that along the way, because those material aspects will give you an insight into what's below that. Why is this important to you? It's important because once you get that material thing, like, what are you going to do then? Right? So there's much deeper issues. There's much deeper, what do you even call them issues? It's connections. What are you connecting to? Journaling
Absolutely.
prompts. Yeah, in terms of the journaling prompts, you can literally Google these things, journaling prompts to help me find my passion and my purpose. Like, people Google so many things. I'm laughing now because I'm just like, I would really love for anybody and everybody listening to this podcast to Google values worksheet, worksheet to help me find my purpose. We Google statistics. We look at people's net worth, and we Google, I don't even know what people are Googling nowadays. It's ridiculous. There's everything and anything that you can Google. The weather, I honestly don't spend enough time anymore, but there was a time in my life where I was one of those people just Googling what wasn't really adding value to my life, is my point. Start looking for things that are going to add value to your life, that are going to help you grow into your authentic self, if that's what you want. You're going to start doing the things that are going to lead you there. And that takes courage, because now you're looking at yourself. We're no longer looking outside of yourself. You're no longer blaming and making excuses and in denial. Now we're starting to look into, who am I? Where am I? What do I want? I'm just mindful of the question in terms of habits and practices. Just one that I wanted to mention as well is mirror work. You can also Google this and learn about mirror work. I literally have a mirror in my office and a mirror in my bedroom. First thing when I wake up is I see myself. You need to be able to look at yourself. And there are famous songs about looking at the person in the mirror, right? You start with the person in the mirror. And I told my mum this the other day as well. I said, well, if you can't, she's like, you've got so many mirrors in your house. Well, if you can't look at yourself, you've got a problem with yourself. Really challenge
and
yourself.
It's not about vanity. It's not about vanity either. It's about getting comfortable with how you look, and that means whether you're at your lowest, getting comfortable with how you look then, recognizing that that's how you look and accepting it, and that's the way to do it. It's not about wanting to actually be obsessed with how you look all the time, but just getting comfortable with it, I guess.
Yeah, you would be surprised, Marie, as well, just beyond the physical aspect, because your body image and your perception of your body image, that is all a surface problem. Looking at yourself in the mirror, and I encourage even you to look up mirror work, and there are certain sentences that you can create to tell yourself, like, Kathy, I am so proud of you for whatever, and I forgive Kathy, really naming yourself, I forgive you for. Kathy, I promise you that I will. So I did mirror work consistently for about 6 months every morning. And you would be surprised with what emotions come up, what things you're holding in yourself. This is what I mean by looking at yourself in the mirror, giving yourself the time and the space to process the emotions that are coming up that you have been keeping on your chest or maybe in a different organ, because emotions, they have a chemical makeup. They are called neuropeptides, and they get stored in our body. This is what I mean by, if you can't look at yourself in the mirror, you have a problem with yourself. What are you hiding from? What are the things that you're not proud of? You can forgive yourself and promise to yourself that you'll do better now that you know better, but without actually acknowledging it, without looking at yourself in the mirror, without owning it, accepting it, you're not going to be able to move forward. You're just going to keep in the same thought pattern, in the same behaviors. So it's that acceptance part of it as well, and just owning it.
Yeah, that's a really good practice as well to, I've heard a lot of therapists talk about how, the compassion that you show for other people, why you're not showing to yourself. So that's a really good practice to put that into, not to repeat the word practice again, but put that into motion because it's a bit hard. It's a bit difficult for some people to visualize that. So be kind of just envisioning that you are separate body, but that's still yourself, and showing that person compassion and talking to yourself that way can really help.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what the mirror work is going to help you do as well. And practice what you preach as well. And talk to yourself and look at yourself in the mirror like you are your best friend, because ultimately you will spend the most time with yourself. So get to know that person and actually get to like them. And it is your responsibility, and you have so many opportunities to actually create the person that you're going to like. So if there's something you don't like about yourself, you can change it. It's in your hands.
Yeah. And with what you mentioned previously about all the toxins that we absorb through life now, not just in terms of food, but also, for example, online, there've been several movements online actually pushing back against so-called toxic body positivity. The Conversation actually published an article citing the various ways in which body positivity risks turning toxic. Essentially, the sources argue that being positive, irrespective of how you might be feeling at any given moment, winds up silencing negative emotions in ourselves and others. So I wanted to get your thoughts on this as a dietitian and wellness coach, and also as somebody who has been through this personally.
Yeah, I was going to say, it doesn't work. You can do it. You can try it out. You can try push down those emotions and be in a positive kind of a mindset, but if you're just lying to yourself, there's a difference. So toxic positivity is where we are denying ourselves the fact that this situation is not nice. And what has happened, and it's giving yourself, so really, you want to acknowledge the emotions that you're feeling. You want to acknowledge where you are. And like I said, see it for what it is and not worse. A lot of people see it for much worse than it is. This is where they get stuck and go down towards depression. Whereas if you see it as it is, accept it for what it is, be aware, and how did I learn from this? What did I learn from this? How am I going to use this moving forward? What can I do? So it's drawing out the lessons to keep moving forward, essentially not giving up on your vision. Again, knowing yourself, knowing your values, knowing your vision, knowing what you're working towards, so that that experience can ultimately turn into something that's made you stronger, something that has served a purpose, something that you have learned from, something that maybe you won't repeat anymore, or now you have a radar for a certain type of person because you've been through that. It's really important to give yourself time to process it, be it grief, be it anger, be it whatever negative emotion you're feeling, sadness, hurt. Oh gosh, there's so many negative emotions that we experience, and it's creating the container for yourself to move that through your body. Like I said, emotions and neuropeptides in the body. I've maybe just learned to do this over the last 3 years as I've been working on myself. There was a lot that I bottled up. And this is why I had my personal empowerment coach to work through this stuff, to learn about this stuff. This is why I went on my journey of reading 150 books in a year, because I wanted to know how, where, what, because I was just hungry to learn more and know more so that I could help my clients. Because ultimately, as a dietitian, I got taught, calories in, calories out. This is going to help and you'll lose weight and you'll be happy. It doesn't work that way. Not even the calories in, calories out is really true. There's so many more layers to it. And a lot of that weight that people carry nowadays is the emotional weight that they haven't learned how to process through the body, because that emotional weight will literally move through the body through urine and feces. This is how we excrete it. This is how it's going to actually leave the body. And when we accumulate it, and if we push down those negative emotions and go into toxic positivity, you are essentially cooking cancer for later in life. You are essentially developing some other disease somewhere because you're accumulating these neuropeptides that are not doing you any good, that are going to be toxic, right? So again, it's not about sitting. It's not about going down the other way. Like I said, a lot of people can spiral. It's a fine line, but the biggest advice that I would give is seek guidance. Seek guidance on someone who knows about this. Seek guidance from someone you trust. Seek guidance from someone who's been through this. The way to get through something is to find someone who's gone through it that can guide you on your journey. It's not about me. It's not about the coach. It's not about my empowerment coach. She was there to guide me in my journey. That's what a good coach is going to do. We are the passenger in that person's journey. So they have their own North Star. I'm here to be the expert at asking the right questions and being those journal props. So I'm here to speed up the process by asking the right questions so that they can propel forward. So number 1 tip is seek guidance. Number 2 would be watch your self-talk. And seeking guidance when you find the right person to help guide you on this journey. And that's the other thing is any great journey you go on, you're always going to have company. You're going to have good company. And no journey in the right company is too long. When you find the right company, it's not going to take too long to get anywhere. You're going to enjoy it. You're going to have fun. And actually, it's going to pass much quicker than you thought. Like my year of work with my coach, looking back, I'm like, wow, I did so much, but then it wasn't long enough either because I had great company. Think about a road trip, Marie. When you go on a road trip and you've got someone that you really enjoy with you, you're cracking jokes, you're having fun, you're having a laugh, maybe some emotional times as well. And a 5-hour trip turns into a 5-minute thing. You're like, wow, we're already here. Whereas if you're in the wrong company, what happens? You get bored. It drags on. There's awkward silence. So there's a big tip of knowing whether you are in the right company or not again. And
Yeah.
they're going to help you work through those thought patterns and behaviors as well.
That was an interview chock full of such wise words. And it sounds like a lot of it is essentially the answer to cultivating positive body image without silencing our negative emotions, that embracing that authenticity is going to help immensely with that. Just being aware of who we are as people at our core is going to help a lot with that. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. Now we're moving on to the open mic section. This is your opportunity to talk about anything that you're passionate about that doesn't have to be related to the topic. So the floor is yours. Please take it away.
I am so passionate about health and wellness in general and the topic that we talked about today. What I would like to say and share, I guess, I preach about the 6 pillars to wellness. So the 6 pillars to wellness is essentially a framework that I use to help my clients excel in life, covering nutrition, movement, sleep, optimizing the stress response, light therapy, and mindset or spirituality, depending on what the client resonates with. So coming back to optimizing the stress response, I'm always explaining this one because stress is normal. We have a stress response. We're meant to have a stress response. If you were to take away your stress response, you wouldn't be able to survive or cope, or you wouldn't actually move out of the way from that car when it's approaching. It's about optimizing it. It's about utilizing it. We need a certain level of stress to perform at our best. So it's harnessing the stress response and understanding how to drop down into a relaxed state. We have two different types of nervous system, the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. The sympathetic being the fight or flight or freeze response, and the parasympathetic being the rest and digest. So this is the one where we relax. A lot of people nowadays are constantly in fight or flight mode. Fight, flight, or freeze. A lot of the situations nowadays very different to what they were before, and people have just forgotten how to regulate. So we actually go into fight or flight mode even when we perceive a threat. So a perceived threat may be actually that we are scared that someone's going to take our identity, that someone is actually challenging our values. So this is where it is, again, so important to know thyself, so important to be authentically you and to stand your ground and know what you stand for, because someone is not going to like you. And when someone doesn't like you, are you going to fight, flight, or freeze? Or are you actually just going to respond by walking away because you are so sure in who you are? And you're not even going to let it affect your nervous system. And there are times when you will fight, flight, or freeze, go into that sympathetic nervous system overdrive, and it's how do I return back to baseline? How do I nurture myself to reset? Because things are going to happen in life and people are going to betray you and people are going to say things about you that are not true and you're not going to expect it from people that have been in your life for years. So how do you actually move past this? How do you grow stronger from this? When you know yourself, when you know your values, when you know your worth, and what you're working towards, it will be much easier for you to remove yourself and to let go because you know who you are becoming. A lot of people will get stuck because they're not willing to let go of those people, places, and things that are holding them back. I'm very passionate about wellness holistically, and all of this relates to authenticity, body image, and fixing your focus. Body image it's again, the grand scheme of things, it's one of the things that we work on along the way. It will improve. And I often tell my clients as we work through, like if someone comes to me for weight loss, at some point I will start talking about, let's not attach to a number, because what are you actually chasing here? Are you chasing a number or a feeling? Who do you want to be? How do you want to hold yourself? Body composition, very different. Once upon a time, I thought that my ideal weight was 60 kilos. I'm 70 kilos today, 10 kilos over my ideal body weight back then. Completely different body composition. Let's not attach to a number. Let's attach to the feeling, the energy that you want to embody, the purpose that you have. What are you striving for? And I'm really passionate about leading by example. I'm really passionate about conscious parenting. Not a parent myself, but I'm really passionate about seeing parents who are leading by example. I want to surround myself by those people because I think that there's so much room for education, so much potential, and we need to be more mindful of what we present ourselves with, because what are we presenting our kids with? How much time we're spending on social media, but more also be picky, be choosy, be picky about what you expose yourself to. Go through who you're following. And that's another practice to do. That's another habit that I have personally. And when I was going through my major surgery, long story short, I used to have breast implants. I had plastic surgery at the age of 21 and I had breast implants. And at the age of 28, I decided to explant them, take them out, because I was getting sick. My spiritual journey had evoked breast implant illness symptoms. And this is something that is just a matter of time. And B, it no longer aligned with who I am. It wasn't who I wanted to become as a mother in the next 10 years. I asked myself that question. Does the mother of my future children have breast implants? And I was like, no, she does not. Therefore, I need to get this done. Get it done now or later. The perks of getting it done now is get it done, get it out of the way and recover faster. And my whole mentality is stay ready. Even before this surgery, I didn't know this surgery was going to happen. Nobody tells you when you go into the plastic surgery industry. You don't think about this as a 21-year-old. You don't even know who you are. This is what I mean.
Yeah.
This is exactly what I mean, Marie. You don't know who you are. You're stumbling through life. You make a decision. It's in the doing that you learn, okay? It was the right choice for me back then, and I rectified it later because I'm becoming a new person. And that's where I had to show myself a whole lot of self-compassion. Yeah, exactly. I had to show myself a whole lot of self-compassion. And as I was going through that surgery and that explant journey, a lot of those emotions from 21-year-old me started to come back up. A lot of those toxic positivity emotions that I had dug deep below my heart had started to come up, right? This is the work that I was doing and realigning myself, readjusting. It's a work in progress. The journey is it. You're always doing it. How can I be better? How can I lead by example? What do I want to stand for? You know, we have this one life. We don't actually really know. We're never going to know the full truth. But for what you do know, when people are living now beyond 80, the average lifespan in Australia, what do you want to do with those 80 years? What, like, it's something to journal about. It's something to think about. When you are 70, 80 years old, what do you want to be able to say? What are the stories that you want to tell your grandchildren? And what do you want to be able to do? Because when I'm 80 years old, I'm still jumping fences. I'm still strong. I'm still able to do stuff. In order to be that person when I'm 80 years old, I need to start now. I need to develop into the person that's going to lead me to that and maintain that and grow, right? So I'm very passionate about health and wellness and mindset in general. It's all connected. It all comes back to the 6 pillars to wellness and how I can improve in each of these 6 pillars. And change is inevitable. Being resilient to the point that when adversity happens, you get stronger from it. So you get pushed back, pulled back, pushed back in order to shoot forward and be even stronger so you can grow from it. And again, that comes back to knowing yourself.
Mm-hmm. Couldn't have been better said, Kathy. Thank you so much for sharing all of that with us, your personal experiences, your advice to our listeners as well. It's been such a pleasure learning from you in every aspect of wellness. If our listeners want to find out more about you and what you do, where can they go?
You can go to my Instagram page, Kathy Ožaković, Kathy O Wellness Coach. Also, newfitwellness.com.au. That's NUFIT Wellness. And you can book in a discovery call, have a chat with me, and we can get you on the path to becoming your best well self.
Amazing. We'll link those in the show notes. Thank you everyone for tuning in to Self-Improvement Atlas, the Personal Science Insights podcast. We hope you took some advice and learning points away from Kathy, who's been such a great guest, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
You've been listening to the Self-Improvement Atlas, the Personal Science Insights podcast, produced by LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. For more episodes like this from 10 different life management perspectives, search LMSL on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts so you can get updated on everything we have to offer. We have a wide range of topics readily available for you to check out. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider rating our show, sharing it, and subscribing to our channel, as it helps us grow and bring you more quality resources. More of our work can be found on our website at pe.lmsl.net, where you can join our movement. I'm Marie Stella. Thanks for tuning in.